I don't see you. It's so wonderful to see everyone here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Michael, welcome. It's wonderful to see you. This is a very special evening. Yes. Thank you for joining us to talk about this incredibly vast and fascinating topic. So just a little bit of background. Michael is America's leading expert of Vastu for over 40 years. He has used Vastu for his clients worldwide to align their homes and workspaces. Michael is an architect and developer, and we can't wait to hear how you got to Vastu to begin with. He designed and built the first Microsoft building and many buildings for the Boeing company, employing the principles of Vastu. Some corporate clients include the World Bank, NASA, Oracle, and Amazon. Maybe that's why they're all succeeding. So if that's not fascinating enough, Michael is also a Jyotish astrologer, a teacher of yoga and meditation techniques since 1970. He founded the American Institute of Vastu with his wife, Robin, and Vastu Creations, LLC. And what's wonderful is that he's also co-authored 3 award-winning books on Vastu, including Altars of Power and Grace, The Way of Vastu, and Making Room for Mr. Right. So I will make sure that we have links to all of your books and to your websites in the chat room this evening. So welcome, Michael, and what a glorious resume and how fascinating. So I think we jump right in and say, what is Vastu? Where does it come from? And what does the actual word mean?
So Vastu itself means building. Vastu Shastra, Shastra is the science. It's the science of building. And it comes from a part of the Vedas, which is ancient Sanskrit knowledge that has to do with improving the quality of your life. It's called the Atharvaveda. And many of the things your viewers are familiar with come from Atharvaveda: meditation, yoga, pranayama exercises, Dhanurveda, the science of self-defense. So many things, including Vastu Shastra, Ayurveda, the science of healing. In fact, Ayurveda and Vastu and Jyotish, or Vedic astrology, are sister sciences. They very much interlace with each other. In fact, in olden times, when you would go to see an Ayurvedic doctor, they would look at your astrology and they would look at the Vastu of your house to combine all 3 to give a holistic view of, how to improve your health and quality of life. So very much interconnected. And that's really what my aim is, to combine all 3 so that people can feel uplifted in their space. Many people have gone into buildings, houses, and they feel for some reason that they don't feel easy there. They feel uneasy and maybe not feel like staying very long. And it has to do with 1 or more of the 5 elements being out of balance. And Vastu is the science of balancing earth, water, fire, air, and space in the environment. In Ayurveda, we're balancing the 5 elements in the body. Everything is made of the 5 elements. Everything is made of energy, and at the subtlest level of energy is earth, water, fire, air, and space.
Michael, what was Vastu used for originally? How did it develop at all from an architecture point of view? Was it really the beginning for Hindu temples? Is that how this science began to develop?
So the Vedas are much older than any religion, including the Hindu religion. Ancient seers sat in deep meditation and cognized these principles of the Vedas and the knowledge of the Vedas. And so they were in deep meditation, could observe the workings of nature and how it affected our physiology. from our dwellings to being out in nature, etc. So it was just developed as how to align yourself, your body, and your environment with the forces of nature. Then you get the support of nature. So when we are in buildings that are not in harmony with nature, not built in harmony with nature, then we don't get that support of nature. We don't feel uplifted in that space. So, you know, I'm sure at one point, knowledge gets destroyed or disappears, and sometimes the kings and palaces will be utilizing that knowledge, and it may not be available to the public. But it's my desire to bring this knowledge back. Many people are familiar with yoga, and a few years ago, nobody knew about yoga. So, and many people are familiar with feng shui, and feng shui actually came from Vastu. Vastu is said to be 7,000 to 10,000 years old, and feng shui is about 2,500 years ago. The knowledge of Vastu was carried over the mountains by Buddhist monks to China and became adapted to their local cultural and climatic conditions of the time and become known as feng shui. They are similar in that both aim at getting stuck energy to start moving in your environment so you do feel uplifted. They just go about it different ways. I've practiced both and found quicker, faster results with more lasting results with Vastu.
You're an architect and a developer.
Yes.
And we would love to hear a little bit before your PowerPoint presentation,
sure,
a little bit about how you even discovered Vastu and how it's clearly made an impact on your clients and certainly your corporate clients.
So I was a young architect, and in fact, I was still in graduate school and at the University of Washington, but I happened to be walking down the street in San Francisco, and someone said somebody's giving a talk about energy and environment. And so I was very interested, and I walked up these stairs, and there was a small living room with a few people gathered around someone, and that person was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the Beatles guru. And so I was really fascinated with what he was talking about, and I began meditation. I learned meditation from him, and he asked me to design some buildings in Rishikesh. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I talked to my the head of my doctorate program, and he said, yes, this is a great opportunity for you. You go, and we'll give you credit. So it all worked out, and I spent some time in Rishikesh, and I designed some buildings that are still standing, and along the Ganges River there, that were made of rocks and from the Ganges River. And it was at Maharishi's feet that I learned the science of Vastu. We didn't even call it Vastu at that time, but he was describing buildings, the proportion of the length and the width and the height and the colors and the orientation, and it was all the principles of Vastu. And so when after I left India, I ended up being on the design team for the first Microsoft building and some buildings for Boeing, where I got to utilize that knowledge of Vastu. And people kept asking me, what can you do for existing homes and businesses? And I had learned some things while I was in Rishikesh, utilizing yantras, which is a physical representation of a mantra or a sound, and placing these devices in certain areas of a home or a business to move energy that's stuck, so that people can have more prosperity, more harmony in their relationships, better health and finances. So yeah, that's how I got into it, basically.
So you touch upon so many interesting themes, and I know we're going to return to them, but
sure.
I think at this point, it would be great to introduce us to the vast theme through your PowerPoint, and then we'll return with some questions on science,
Wonderful.
on yantras, on monuments, on design principles, and we'll make sure to open it to our participants in the chat box. If they have a question, feel free to write, and we'll try to address it during our talk tonight. So take it away, Michael. Share
Sure.
your screen. We're happy to see the PowerPoint now.
Okay. Let's see here. You let me know if you guys can see it okay. Can you see
Yeah,
it?
it's good.
Okay, great. So basically what we're doing in Vastu is determining where energy is getting stuck, and depending on where it gets stuck, it creates some stress in your home or office that can affect some aspect of your life, whether it's your career, your finances, your relationships, or your health. And so what we do in Vastu is, again, we utilize these energetic tools. We don't recommend any remodeling unless you're going to remodel anyway, because that creates more stress. We want to reduce the stress. So we utilize these tools, just like if you're feeling some stress in the body, some pain, or you're feeling tired or sluggish, and you go to somebody who understands how the energy flows in your body, like a body worker, or you get a massage, or you get chiropractic adjustment, or you get some marma treatments or acupuncture, they know there are certain meridians or marma points in the body that get blocked and can create this stress. And your home or office is a living, breathing organism, just like your body, made of those same 5 elements. And so, you know, when you get an acupuncture treatment or a marma treatment, they're creating some pressure to get that stuck energy in the body to start moving again. And we're doing the exact same thing in your home or office. So, and Vastu is really about aligning your physical body and your home or office or environment to 2 forces of nature. And actually there are seven different things that create stress in your home or office. So one has to do with the alignment, whether you're aligned to the earthly grid system or not. So positive solar energy comes from the east, and positive magnetic energy comes from the north. These 2 forces of nature set up an electromagnetic grid system that covers the entire surface of the earth. And you can think of it as longitudinal and latitudinal lines. So if our building and our body are aligned to that earthly grid system, then we get the support of nature. We're in harmony with our environment. And if we're not, there are ways to, without picking up your house and turning it or your body, to energetically align yourself with those forces of nature. The second thing has to do with the placement of things within your environment, like toilets and stoves and furnaces and fireplaces and different things like that. And they can, if they're not placed in the proper area, they can create stress. The shape of your house or office is very important. If you have missing corners or the garage sticks out or things like that, energy can get stuck. And we're going to talk about these things in more detail, but I'm just kind of going over the 7 different things. Then energy can leak out and create unwanted expenses, or it can get blocked. The slope of the land also has something to do with energy getting stuck. Things that aren't organized in your environment, this is common to feng shui, things that are called clutter, that can create stress. And earth energies. And in modern times, we're going to talk a little bit more about EMFs, because everybody's got 5G now, or almost everybody, and it's affecting a lot of my family and clients. So we have devised certain ways to remediate that electromagnetic energy. So yeah, so alignment, again, it's, you know, there's these ultraviolet rays that come as the sun moves across the sky, it creates these different rays of energy. And in the morning, you feel very alive. I mean, some people do. and it's a good time to meditate. It's called early in the morning. I know some of you guys are waking up to chanting in the morning now um, with Alma, and this is when ultraviolet rays are very prominent in the environment, and they promote cellular growth. And as the sun rises in the sky, then it's more of infrared rays, and as it sets in the west, it's more gamma rays. These are not life supporting, and they can damage your cellular structure. So environments are designed in such a way to take advantage of these ultraviolet rays coming from the north and the east, and protect you from these infrared and gamma rays from the west. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some tips to align your physical body with your environment. One has to do with the direction that you face when you work or cook or meditate or do anything artistically, like painting or music. So I've been involved in a lot of double-blind studies where we'll take a group of kids with similar IQ, 100 kids, have them study the same materials and take the same test. And we divide them into 4 groups of 25. 25 will face north, 25 will face east, 25 will face south, and 25 will face west. And they're all hooked up to EEG machines to measure their brain waves. And so what they find in these studies that's very interesting is the kids that face north and east do about 20% better on the test. They are producing an alpha rhythm, which is a harmonic brain wave, shown in the graph here. And the kids that face west and south are producing beta waves. They're the peaks and valleys. And these are the kids that face south and west don't have the same focus, concentration, creativity, or stamina as the kids that are producing the alpha rhythm facing west and north. Now, another part of these studies that are very interesting show that the kids that face north do better on the math, the analytical part of the test. Something about that positive magnetic energy that comes from the north supports our left brain analytical part of our consciousness. And the kids that face east do better on the creative part of the test. So something about the solar energy supports that right brain activity. So another tip is the direction you face when you sleep. I've been involved in some other studies where they'll take 50 patients in a hospital that are recovering from similar surgeries, and they'll set it up so that 25 of those patients will have their headboard to the south, and 25 will have their headboard to the north. And they're also having EEG machines to measure their brain waves and their REM state. REM state is an indication of a deeper sleep. So what they find was the patients with their headboards to the south had more REM states and longer REM states than the patients with their headboards to the north. The reason this happens is positive magnetic energy comes from the north. And if we're sleeping with our headboard to the north, it's like bringing 2 positive ends of magnets together. What happens? They repel. So it disturbs the blood flow, circulation, and digestion, and you're not sleeping as deeply. In fact, there's a very famous psychic called Edgar Casey, who used to recommend people sleeping with their heads to the north because he wanted them to write down their dreams. So if you sleep with your head to the north, you wake up more frequently, you're not sleeping as deeply, and you can remember your dreams to write them down. But ultimately, it's not good for your health. So in sleep, we throw off stress so that we can rejuvenate our body. And so if we're not sleeping deeply, then that process gets disturbed. So yeah. So the patients with their headboards to the north, shorter REM cycles, less of those REM cycles. So another tip is about reducing clutter. And I said that's a common thing to feng shui. So wherever you have clutter in your house affects stress in some part of your life. We'll go more deeply into that. But once you understand the stress that clutter creates and where it is in your house or office, then you'll get more motivated to get organized. So we're going to talk a little bit about placement as well. So each of the 5 elements is related to a specific direction. In fact, I was on Dr. Oz with Dr. Kulrit Chaudhry, and we presented a study that we did on some of her patients who were not recovering. They were getting better. People from all over the world see her. She's amazing. She has a knack for figuring out exactly what's wrong and what to do. And so some of our patients were kind of stuck in their healing process. And so we introduced Vastu and astrology to see about using those remedies to speed up their healing process. And it was very successful. So we presented that on Dr. Oz. And so we talked about some of these things that I'm talking about right now, because Dr. Oz had not heard of Vastu before. But basically, the earth element is associated with the southwest part of your home or office. And it's the earth element has to do with how we support ourselves, from our physical structure, our spine, our legs and our feet, to actually how we support ourselves and our family, our career. And the southeast has to do with Agni, the fire element. And so the fire element has to do with how energetic we feel. If we're feeling very tired or sluggish, that can affect our immune system and our health. And so if there are imbalances in the southeast, like a toilet is there, or some water element, that will reduce that fire element and can affect our energy level. The northeast is associated, part of your home or office is associated with the water element, and that has to do with any kind of growth in your life, your spiritual growth and your material growth. Finances is the bottom line that most people feel the effects from that. If there's some blockage there, or some fire element like a stove burning your money, or a furnace, or a fireplace, or electrical panel. The northwest has to do with the air element, and air has to do with communication. And so if air element is out of balance for some reason, then there's some stress in your relationships, because it affects your speech, your thoughts, and your actions. And if your speech and your thoughts and your actions are not harmonious, then there's more stress in your relationships. The very, very center of your home or office has to do with the ether or space element. And the other 4 elements, air, water, fire, and earth, come out of that space element. So any imbalances like fire elements or water elements or heavy staircases, that can reduce the space, affecting relationships, finances, health, and career. All are affected by imbalances in the center, because it's connected to all the other 4 elements. So again, this is kind of just talking about what I was just explaining. So stove or any fire element in the northeast affects your finances. Stove or a toilet in the southwest reduces earth, can affect your career. A toilet or any other kind of water element, even in your lot, if you have a pool or a fountain or a hot tub in the southeast, that's reducing fire, affecting, again, your energy and your health. And now the air element is not disturbed by water or fire. It is actually friendly with the fire element and the water element. But it is disturbed by the shape. If you have a missing corner there, or the garage sticks out in the northwest, or if you have some blockage, no windows or doors there, that can all create some stress in reducing the air element and affecting your relationships. And then these things can all be connected to certain kind of illnesses in the body as well. You can take any illness and really track it to an imbalance in certain areas of your home or office. For example, a lot of my clients come to me because they're having trouble conceiving. And conception has to do with the water element, the growth of the fetus, and getting and conceiving and getting pregnant. And it also has to do with the fire element, which is to do with the energy in the body. So usually there's imbalances there in both of those. And then you can look at breast cancer and different types of cancer, and that's also a combination of a couple different areas of your home or office. So in the last 50 years of doing this, or 40 years of doing this, I've tracked all kinds of different illnesses to certain imbalances in the home or office. You cannot see this chart, I'm sorry, but it's very, very small, but it talks about all the different illnesses in different areas of the house. Let's move on from that. Let's see here. So shape is very important. And the way we see shape is it's energy that's moving. So all the positive, prosperous, healing energy comes in through Ishanya, God's corner, which is the northeast. And then it splits and it moves around your house and settles in the southwest to benefit people living or working in that environment. Now, if energy gets stuck along the way, then it creates stress in those different areas of the house and different areas of your life. So you can think of it like a stream. A stream is flowing along, and then all of a sudden you have a bend in that river or stream. What happens? Some of that water eddies, stagnates, and pollutes, and affects the quality of the water and in that river or stream. Same thing happens with the flow of energy in the house. If you have a missing corner in the northeast, then it's going to affect the finances. If you have a missing corner or an extension in the southeast, then it's going to affect your health. If you have a missing corner or extension, a grudge sticking out in the southwest, it's going to affect your career. And likewise in the northwest, missing corner or extension some of that energy gets stuck there, affecting stress in relationships. And I have lots of experiences with different clients where I'll come to the house and from the outside I can kind of tell what's going on, and then I go in the house and they tell me, what kind of stresses they're having in their life. A garage is sticking out in the northwest, and I go in and I can tell, there's a lot of stress in the relationship. In fact, one of thousands of experiences where I walked in and you could tell the husband was sitting on one side of the room and the wife was on the other, and the kids were kind of stressed out, and actually they were going through a divorce, and the husband couldn't afford to move out of the house. He was living in one end of the house and the wife was living in the other end. So we have ways of getting that stuck energy, no matter what your Vastu situation happens to be, without any remodeling, without actually taking a chainsaw and cutting off the garage that's sticking out. So we can energetically kind of correct the shape. This is just a diagram of how that energy flows in the house. So coming in the northeast, and then settling in the southwest. And then here's that picture of the river and a bend in the river and how some of that water stagnates and eddies there in the bend in the river. And here's, what happens in the house. An L-shaped house, you have this extension to the northeast, some some of the finances are getting impacted, and then you have the extension in the southwest, career is impacted, and then a missing corner in the southeast, so health is impacted. So, you know, these extensions and missing corners can impact, you know, 3 or 4 areas of your life just by the shape of your house. Now, also energy can get blocked or leak out. And so many people live in an apartment or a condo or even a house that's attached to another dwelling. And so maybe the east is blocked by another unit, or the north is blocked by another unit, or there's a hill or a mountain or another house very close. So those energies are blocked. So you may be blocking the financial energy from the north, or the healing energy from the east. And so these yantras that we use attract that missing or blocked energy without, again, changing anything in your environment. Now, if you have lots of doors or windows in the south and the west, this positive energy that's coming to settle there and benefit you will leak out and become unwanted expenses. So just like this diagram, basically. So the incoming and then outgoing, basically. So there are ways to set up energy barriers to keep that prosperity in the house energetically, just using different yantras so that they see each other and set up these energy barriers without blocking off the windows or the doors or putting up heavy drapes or anything like that. Let's see here. So here's a diagram of a house and all the different kinds of things that can happen where the placement is not correct, the shape is not correct, and the placement of things within the house is not correct. Here's a diagram of the slope of the land. When the land slopes up to the northeast, it's just like what I was talking about with like a house or a hill, blocking that prosperous energy from the northeast. And then when it slopes down to the south and the west, it's like creating all these expenses. So again, there are energetic ways of lifting the energy so that, and attracting the blocked energy so that you don't experience those expenses. So we were talking about clutter and its influence in different parts of the house. So any closet, garage, room in the northeast that has things that aren't organized can affect your prosperity. So this may motivate people to get a little bit more organized. Any clutter in the southeast, again, it's energy that's getting stuck in the southeast affecting your health. Clutter in the southwest will stagnate your career. Clutter in the northwest, whether it's a closet or a drawer or a room, will create stress in the relationships. And clutter in the center, in the attic or the basement, can affect every area of your life. Now, this is one of the most difficult things for people to do. I just took a course where they talked about taking 9 days and letting go of 27 things that you no longer need each of those 9 days. And I just did that exercise myself, and it was very, very powerful. Wow. There's a name for it, but I can't remember the name. But it's, you know, you look at an item and, you know, if you no longer are using it and you haven't used it in a year, it might benefit someone else. You make 3 piles. So 1 to give away, 1 to save, and 1 to throw away. And so it's very powerful. You can start with very small with a drawer. Just take everything out of the drawer and make those 3 piles, and then put the things you want to keep back in an organized fashion so you can find them when you open the drawer. And what happens? You get a lot of energy. It's very, very powerful, even just starting with something small. So I encourage everyone to do it. But what I have noticed is it's very difficult for people, especially if they have, I mean, a lot of people in our age group, you know, parents are passing away, relatives are passing away. So you get all these different things and you have an emotional attachment to it. And it's very hard to, you know, let go of some things. We tend to not want to let go of clutter in our mind, clutter on our computer, and clutter in our home. So when we do the Vastu, we get energy that's stuck to start moving. People naturally get motivated to start to get more organized. It's very powerful. The other thing has to do with earth energies, and I was really talking a little bit about this, but in the Vedas, they talked about underground streams, underground channels, and fault lines, earthquake lines. And they didn't talk about geopathic stress lines. That's a feng shui term, but those are energies that are affecting us. And in Europe, for years, they've been tracking these geopathic stress lines because it's very easy. Homes aren't bought and sold like they are in the United States. So passed on from one generation to another. So it's very easy to see where these geopathic stress lines are in a house and how they affect people living in those rooms generation after generation, and, you know, getting certain kind of illnesses where these geopathic stress lines cross. So geopathic stress lines are not only the underground streams and fault lines and things like that, the earth energies, but also the pipes that are coming and wiring that comes towards your house and that's in your floors of your office and your ceiling of your house. So they are storm, sewer, water, low voltage and electrical lines, gas lines, and all of these carry some radiation. And where these lines cross, if it's under a bed or a desk where you're spending a lot of time, that can affect your immune system and your stress level and affect your focus and your brain fog and things like that. So in Vastu, we talk about different ways to remediate those situations. And in modern times, we really have to be more concerned about electromagnetic frequencies, which are, we are electromagnetic beings living in a sea of electromagnetic energy, which is growing by the day as they build more cell towers and microwave towers. You know, we used to have to plug in our computer, and that was actually much safer. And so now we have a router in our home or our apartment or our office. And so these frequencies are going all over. And then we have cell phones now that are like basically a computer. And before they were pretty harmless, but now they are putting out a lot of electromagnetic frequencies as well. And now with the 5G, 5G only works if they have one of these stations that's very close to your house. So you can go on websites they'll show where that 5G station is related to your house. They just built one across the street from us. Luckily, we have been, you know, my family noticed many, many years ago the effects of EMF. So we've developed ways to protect ourselves from it using paramagnetic material. In fact, if you go to our website, vastucreations.com, we have whole house plugs that change the wiring in your house to protect you from 5G outside and EMFs inside the house. We have pendants that you can wear when you're walking around outside in the 5G areas. And then we actually have USB things that plug into any USB outlet that also will remediate the wiring in your house or your car to protect you from those EMFs. I've been involved in lots of studies. Now, years ago, you would see somebody come around and read your gas meter, your water meter, your electric meter every month. But now they have these little dials, like this one right here, it's hard to see, on your meter called the smart meter. And that sends radio transmissions to a central location that's showing how much energy you're using each month. And they're on your gas meter, your water meter, and your electric meter, or your solar, or whatever you have to have. And so these are some studies where you would stand in front of the smart meter for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and you can see what happens. These are the cells, blood cells. They start clumping. When they start clumping, that changes your DNA, and that clumping of the cells is what causes cancer. So it affects your health and productivity and many, many different things. So yeah, so it's very important, I think. I've seen some studies, and I know this is kind of conspiracy theory stuff, but I think there is some connection. When 3G came into effect, that's when we started seeing the SARS, and when 4G came, it was more swine flu and H1N1, and now with the 5G, we see the coronavirus, which started in Wuhan, which is where the 5G originated. So there is some connection to EMFs and affecting your immune system. And again, just it's very important. I've done a lot of study, looked at a lot of different things to remediate the 5G. So just in summary, 3 things you can do is, try to have your headboard not on the north wall. If your house is not aligned to the cardinal directions, avoid northwest or northeast as well. East, west, southwest, southeast are all okay. And then try to face north or east, for your productivity, for your creativity at work, at home, when you're cooking. Even in your kitchen, you can usually find a spot when, maybe not when you're working at the stove, but when you're prepping the vegetables to face east. And that will put more creativity and love into the food and affects your food as well. And then reducing clutter. So those are the 3 things. Now, how do we move that stuck energy? We were talking a little bit about yantras in the beginning. And I know Colreit's writing, I don't want to steal her thunder, but I know she's just written a book about mantras and sound and how that affects us. And now she's writing a book about yantras. So when I was in India, it's been 50 years ago now. I've been back many times since then. We learned about these mantras and yantras and how they affect the physiology and the environment. And so yantras are just the physical representation of a mantra, a sound. And these are 3 different, we use 100 different yantras to move stuck energy in your environment, but these are just 3 I'm just showing as examples. They have a series of, how are we doing on time, Sonia? I think we're okay.
I think we're okay. We have a few more minutes and then we'll open it up to questions. So we're good,
Okay.
Mike.
Okay, great. They are composed, they are geometric kind of symbols and composed of different shapes. So each of the 5 elements is associated with a specific shape. A square or rectangle is the earth element. A circle is the water element. The water element is a triangle pointing down like this. And a triangle pointing up is the fire element, and a circle is the air element. And then the very center is called the bindu, or the space element. So most of these yantras are combined with colors and these shapes. And some of the yantras that we use have Sanskrit. It's hard to see, but there are 9 different spaces in a rectangle, like a tic-tac-toe basically, called the magic square, that have Sanskrit numbers in each of those squares. And they add up diagonally, horizontally, and vertical to one particular number that has to do with the frequency of what we want to correct in a house. So these frequencies are aligned to certain planets and certain areas of your house. In fact, if I was to look at, when I very first started out doing this, I would look at the chart of the person that whose house I'm doing. You know, if it was a family, I would probably look mostly at the wife's chart because she spends a lot of time there. And I could see in her chart the imbalances that were affecting her health, her finances, her career, and her relationship showing up in the floor plan of the house because they're very, very much aligned. In fact, as we, in our charts, you know, when we're born, all the planets and stars are embedded in the sky in a certain way for us to come here on this planet, this big school, and learn certain lessons that help us open our hearts and help other people. And so all these different challenges that we face are all designed for us to grow and evolve. And so we would naturally be going through different planetary periods during our life. And as we change planetary periods, then we start thinking, oh, I'd like a different apartment. I'd like to move out of my parents' house. I'd like to get a house or change jobs, get a different office. So as we go through these planetary periods, then we are aligning our new environment with our chart that is changing with these different planetary periods that we go through. So they're all designed to support whatever we need to learn. Now, if we are doing remedies for our chart, which involve some chanting, some colors, some everything has energy, so colors, some yantras, that can strengthen the weak planets in our chart so we can progress. You know, that these planets are teaching us, they're giving certain tendencies in our life that are maybe creating some stress in relationships. So some lessons we need to learn, some stress in our career, whatever, some lessons we need to learn. So if we are doing the remedies, the tendencies will still be there. The planets are still creating some opportunity for us to learn, but it's not like a cosmic 2x4 where you have to, you know, instead of breaking your leg, you might get a scratch or something like that. So the remedies are very, very helpful. In fact, a lot of people think that, you know, your astrology is something fun to look at every month in a magazine, in Vogue or something like that. Jyotish was designed by these ancient seers who cognized the workings of the universe, the planets, the movement, and how it affects our physiology and our emotions and our mind. It was a roadmap to your enlightenment, to your happiness, to reducing stress in your life. So Vastu and Jyotish and Ayurveda are roadmaps for us to be healthy and productive and happy. And so anyway, so these yantras are basically creating a frequency. Einstein had this famous quote, and I don't know the exact quote, but basically if you can match a certain frequency that you want to affect with something that's out of that frequency, like a yantra, then you can improve that flow of energy. Everything's made of energy. So if you're matching, you know, a balanced 5-element energy in an area of the house that where the energy's stuck and out of balance, you can move that energy forward. So it's very powerful, these yantras and mantras. And as you guys are some of you are getting up early and listening to the chanting every morning. So it's very, very powerful if you can stay awake that early in the morning. So yeah, so basically these 5 elements are related to the different parts of our body as well. Earth element is our flesh and bones. If we had 5 or 10 minutes, I could do a 5-element meditation. If not, they can go to our website and vastucreations.com and somewhere on the internet, I do this 5-element meditation very often. But the fire element is related to the warmth in the body, the digestion, our ability to digest food and be productive. Air element is related to our breath and our joints. and our relationships. Your ether element is related to the hollow spaces in the body, and illness is caused when dis-ease is caused when things are not in balance. Let's see what else we got. Yeah. Do we have time for five elements?
I think we'll refer people to the
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
website, because I think there's some good questions coming.
Oh, good, good, excellent. Yeah, so reducing the stress in the body and the mind. There's four things I think that really affect our happiness, our enlightenment, and one is reducing the stress in the mind and the body through drinking lots of water. So we're trying to adapt to these electromagnetic frequencies. We're very adaptable, but it's difficult. Some people are more sensitive than others, so drinking more water is helpful. And wearing a kavash, which is a protective shield that contains the paramagnetic material and the yantras that we need to strengthen, that are strengthening the certain planets in your chart that are weak, will protect you from that. And exercise, eating organic food, well-balanced diet, vegetarian diet, all of that's helpful in reducing the stress in the body and the mind. Sugar, so many of you have heard about what you can do for your immune system during this time. And, sugar is the thing that reduces your immune system the most. So avoiding sugar is very, very helpful. You can use stevia or monk fruit, get the same kind of effect without, raising your glycemic level and reducing your immune system. Reducing the stress in your home and work through Vastu. Second thing, about 30%. And then your Jyotish, whatever you can do to remedy your chart, is very, very helpful. Learning about, so once we learn our chart, we know our chart, it's like that roadmap for happiness. We understand, oh, Jupiter is wanting me to expand and grow, and but I sometimes overdo it and get into trouble. Saturn is trying to restrict me and gives me discipline, and I have these certain tendencies to keep getting in these relationships that aren't supportive, and etc. Once you learn all these how these planets are working in your chart, it's like the mind can start to see, oh, if I do this, I want to change that. And if I understand these planets and how to remedy them, I can shift that pattern that's been going round and round for many, many years. So Jyotish is basically your past life karma. And so we can avert the danger that has not come by doing these remedies. And I think the fourth thing is being connected to our environment and being connected to the living beings in our environment, and helping other people. Those are powerful remedies for any astrology chart and any karma that you have. So very, very powerful. Let's see what else here. So I think we've kind of touched on pretty much everything. I don't see any home or office as bad. It's like something you have to move out of. I've done Vastu for homes next to cemeteries and every shape and form. And I just did an apartment that's above a mortuary. So, there's always a remedy. There's always a way to correct something and make the best out of the environment that you have. So don't feel bad about your environment. Your thoughts affect your environment as well. Just know there are ways to improve it, and Vastu is a very powerful tool. So, yeah. This is my email, and I think you're going to put it on a.
Yeah.
So
I'll make sure
you can contact me with questions.
I'll make sure to reach out to everyone that they have it.
Okay.
So That's really, really fascinating. I think if we're happy we don't have to bulldoze our homes,
Yes.
um, which is a good thing. But I definitely think you're getting us into a decluttering frenzy, and all of us will make sure to use our compass on our iPhones to know where we are, right?
Yes, and if you know, sometimes the compasses can on the iPhone can be misleading, particularly in office buildings and multi-story buildings. It can be thrown off quite easily. So the best way is just use Google Maps or any map search engine, put in your address, click the satellite button, you'll see your house, your office, or your building, or your apartment, and then you'll know, oh, that street is to the north, and you know, I'm facing north when I sleep or whatever. You can utilize the technology. The top of your computer will always be true north when you're looking at any map on any search engine. Right side will be east, left side will be west. The bottom of your computer screen will be south.
Super. That's very helpful. Thank you. So we have a few questions that
Sure,
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
sure.
Yeah, Sarah Benger is here, and she's happy to see you. She's about to complete your level 1 course, and maybe you can talk about that too, that you take
Yes,
courses. And she's about to start level 2. So the
wonderful.
question is, you know, you mentioned that the optimum direction for us to meditate is northeast. But if we,
North or so actually east, true east is the best.
okay,
And then when in the evening, when the sun starts to pull and set in the west, north is also good. So not northeast. So a lot of people took these studies that I was talking about, and they said, well, if we face northeast when we meditate and we work, we're getting the best of both directions. But actually, the studies show it's not as good as just facing true north or true east. So
okay,
to
great.
clarify that.
Yeah, no, we were told that our murtis or the yantra should face east. So she just wanted to clarify that as well.
Yeah, east is good.
Great. We have a question about the relationship of different colors to healing frequencies. It's
Sure.
a wonderful question. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, so all of our chakras have different energy that's associated with different mantra, different yantra, different colors. The colors we go by in Vastu are related to the planets. And so each planet is associated with a different direction. Remember, I said that Jyotish chart is very much similar to your floor plan of your home or apartment. So north direction has to do with Mercury and green energy. So having light green accents in the north part of your home or office is supportive of Mercury and prosperity and communication. And northeast is associated with Jupiter. Jupiter has to do with a yellow vibration, yellow energy. So light yellow colors or accents, and you don't have to paint your room, but having a painting with the yellow color. Hold on a second.
No worries. He's supporting the color question.
Every once in a while, he wants my attention. Yes, so yellow colors in the northeast support that spiritual growth, Ishanya, that God's corner energy. Sun is related to the east, and orange colors, sun colors are very good there, especially if you're blocked. Having some sun colors there is very good. Southeast is associated with Venus, and the colors that are like a light rose is very conducive to supporting that Venus energy, your health and your relationships as well. South is Mars, and so you can go a little bit darker rose color, still kind of stay light. I don't, you can use dark red accents, but not like painting a whole wall red or anything that's kind of overdoing it and create a little bit overstimulation. So Mars is, you know, associated also with health and healing and dharma and things like that. Southwest is related to Rahu, which is a planetary node in the moon, not known in Western astrology, but that Rahu energy has to do with earth tones, terracotta, taupe, beiges and things, earth tones like that. So in the southwest area of the house, you can use, plants and things like that are related to earth. West and northwest, that's northwest is moon energy, west is Saturn energy. Light blues accents are very good. So that's how we kind of utilize the colors in Vastu. And center of the space, we want to stay very, very light. White is good. Ceilings, you want to keep white or off-white to expand the energy.
So, Michael, if one is anticipating a move and choosing a new home, so this is a real opportunity. Where does one begin?
Well, I would say that if it's an apartment, it's a little different than a home or an office even, because usually your front door faces a hallway and it's not in direct contact with the outside unless it's a home. So in an apartment, I would look for an apartment that's aligned to the cardinal directions. Like I don't know where you live, but Sarah, I think, is in Manhattan or somewhere. Nothing is aligned to the cardinal directions because of the river and the water bodies. But anyway, if it's aligned, it's good. And then having some exposure, some windows to the north and the east is very good. Getting that solar, that morning light is very, very conducive if possible. So look for apartments like that. And then there are lots of other things to look for. In a house, you could go for east facing, north facing house. This is bringing in lots of prosperous healing energy. A lot of people will, in looking for a home or apartment, send me an address and a little sketch of the floor plan, and I can tell right away if it's going to be supportive for your family. And so people are welcome to do that. I have a very small charge for that.
That's amazing.
And so I can look at, people send me daily addresses and things, so they, it's not, we don't always get it right the first time. So anyway, that's a good time actually to get ahead of the game and not be at the effect of Vastu that's not in alignment with nature, basically, or floor plans or houses that are not aligned with nature.
So is Vastu becoming more mainstream now, Michael? Are we seeing it on the curriculum in architecture programs?
More and more, and in my world, it's it's very alive. But I do give talks at architecture schools, so people are becoming more aware of it. There are lots of people that want to go to an architect and they want a house that's feng shui or Vastu, and so I'll consult with different architects on that, or I design a few houses a year based on Vastu as well. So yeah, I think more and more, like any science, sometimes in time these gems get lost and due to invasions and things like that. And so we're just trying to revive this sacred knowledge, just as Amma is trying to revive the science of mantras and living a spiritual life.
Michael, is it necessary to practice Ayurveda, meditation, yoga, pranayama, etc., for Vastu to work? So in other words, does Vastu work if you're not also practicing yoga?
Yeah, so most of my clients, they just come for the Vastu. I am trying as much as possible to encourage people, especially, Ayurvedic consultants, astrologers, and Vastu consultants. I teach Vastu, astrology, and Ayurveda at American Institute of Vastu.com. So I'm trying to encourage people to incorporate all the sciences, and just, you're never going to get a complete, it takes several lifetimes to learn this stuff, but at least have some knowledge of it is very helpful. And people are becoming, for years, now they're aware of yoga, now they're more aware of Ayurveda, and little by little they're learning, they've been aware of feng shui, and now all of a sudden, we have a yogic, we call it yoga for the house, basically. So yoga is releasing stress in the body, and Vastu is releasing the stress in the environment. So people are becoming more and more aware. Yes.
So Michael, is it, the Microsoft building or Amazon or Boeing, do they have yantras throughout their office buildings?
Yes, they do.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. So can you talk a little bit about how the yantras are activated? So, for us, for a number of us, right? So the yantra is this battery pack that we activate through puja and mantra. So exactly. What is your practice? So before you put in yantras into the Amazon building, what's your process?
So all the yantras I use are listening to mantras 24/7. But when I place the yantra, or when I actually do a consultation service that I've done for the last 40 years, but now it's 100% because of I used to travel every other week to New York, East Coast, West Coast, different cities. But now it's all online. So people send me a little sketch of their apartment, their house, their office, and then I do an analysis and prescribe the yantras and where they go and how to place them and the mantra to use when you're placing them. So yes, they are activated with a mantra, a sound.
Michael,
just what you're talking about.
Are there biggest mistakes that people do in their home? Is there a common mistake that you think, oh gosh, they're doing it again? Is there something that stands out to you that you think, oh gosh, this must be remedied immediately, and it seems that everyone is doing it?
Well, I mean, I think I've touched on the main things. A lot of times in a bedroom, the only place you can put a bed is on the north wall.
Yeah.
So, they have no other options. So then I suggest something weird. Throw the pillow on the other end of the bed for about a week or two and see if they don't wake up feeling more refreshed. And 99% of the time they do. So that's one thing I see a lot. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is the direction people face when they're, studying, working. A lot of people are working from home these days. So being productive in your home is essential. So the direction you face has a lot to do with your productivity, as well as the Vastu. And so there's lots of different things that we can do Vastu-wise to improve productivity too. And then the clutter. That's something I see in everybody's house, and it's a constant battle. New things are coming in all the time. We're consumers. We like to buy things on Amazon, but we don't like to return them or let them go. Right. So they build up, and we don't use them, and somebody else can benefit by giving them away. So those are pretty much the common things that people are could actually improve themselves. But Vastu-wise, the rest we need to remedy with the yantras.
Wonderful. And what are the yantras listening to, Michael? Give us some insight.
Oh, they're listening to pujas, different pujas all the time. I wake up, first thing I do is take a shower and chant while I'm in the shower, a powerful healing mantra, and then I do puja, and they're listening to that puja, and then there's also chanting going on in the background throughout the space where I have the yantras. So they're very energized. And then, you know, when people install them, they're given a certain mantra to chant as well.
Amazing. That's magical. And I think we'd love to see a visual of all the yantras being serenaded by mantras and puja. So Jeff Bezos and the gang have their mantras that they have to recite at Amazon and so forth.
So, you know, I have not been in Jeff Bezos' office, but I have been in lots of offices in different Amazon buildings. I used to live in Seattle, so I was doing a lot of buildings and offices in different areas where Amazon was, and Microsoft has, you know, probably 150 buildings or more. So I've been in almost every one of those buildings as well. And then, you know, Intel, Oracle in the Bay Area. So,
Michael,
yeah,
this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much. Your website, your email is all in the chat box.
yeah,
So if people would like to consult with you, they'll reach out to you directly.
wonderful.
Thank you so much for your time. And if you can just, before we get off the call, talk a little bit about the courses that you offer in case.
Sure. At American Institute of Vastu, we offer a Vastu course that's 3 levels. The one is the foundation. First level is the foundation. Second level is about utilizing the yantras and where they come from and how to use them. And then the third level is kind of a practicum. We take every possible situation, you know, different kinds of offices, different kinds of houses, and show how the remedies are used so people can do exactly what I do and make a business out of it or help their friends and family. So we have a couple hundred people that are on that program. And then we have also a Jyotish program that takes into account Ayurveda and Jyotish, where people learn how to read charts, how to remedy their charts, how to remedy charts for other people, and they get certified as well once they go through level 2 of the astrology. And we have a couple other courses for just people that want to learn more about Vastu. And my wife has written a book called Altars of Power and Grace, which utilizes the principles of Vastu to create very powerful manifesting altars. And so that's part of the courses as well, because it really ties in with how people can really move forward in their lives just by setting up an altar, utilizing beautiful things that they already have in their house, just configured in a different sort of way. So yeah, those are the courses that we have. And I have a weekly conference call where people join in, and we take, like last week, we took Kamala Harris's chart, and people kind of chime in, and they, you know, we look at all the planets in her chart, what made her successful, what made her become the VP pick, and, you know, what kind of future things are in store for her in terms of the dasha periods and the transit periods. And then we look at the first part of that conference call is looking at different Vastu things that people did during the week, and, you know, questions they have about them. So
that's great. And how do we join those conference calls if we're interested? Is that all through Vastu Creation?
yeah, that's through the American Institute of Vastu.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. This was absolutely enlightening, holistic. And I think we're all going to approach our homes and apartments with a new lens, a new compass, and a lot of love. So thank you, Michael, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You have all the information on how to reach out to Michael.
Thank you. And yeah, you can just go ahead and email me or text me. I'm happy to answer questions, and forward me your Facebook link or how, so I can kind of forward that as well, Instagram, whatever you have there.
Super. Thanks very much. Have a great night, everyone.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.